Okay, welcome back. Thank you for joining me. This is part two. Should be a pretty quick one, this one, and we're just going to specifically look at patient positioning for our perfusion scanning. So a couple of quick learning objectives for this video. We're going to demonstrate how to prepare patients for CT neuroperfusion imaging and describe the techniques for proper patient positioning to obtain optimal imaging results and ensuring patient comfort and safety. Okay, so the first thing we'll go through is our overall patient position. So, head first, supine, with the head in the adjustable head holder. So next is about ensuring our patient's safety and comfort, whilst also ensuring they hold still. So many of our stroke patients will have suffered from hemiparesis, so they've got weakness in one side. So we need to make sure that their arms aren't going to fall down while the table's jogging backwards and forwards through the gantry, potentially resulting in injury. So if there's a chance they're going to move a little bit, we can use the arm straps and strap their arms in, or otherwise we can just put the arm boards there so they've got something to rest against. The other thing is using cushions or pillows against their head and putting the head straps on to ensure their head stays nice and still, which is really, really important during our perfusion scanning when it's going to create those maps and it's going to compare over time. So any little movement of the head can throw our perfusion results out. So next we will look specifically at the head positioning, as this is a critical element in perfusion scanning. So most scanners are limited in the range that they can scan due to the necessity of back and forward table motion. To ensure the maximum amount of brain tissue is covered, we need to position the patient in the chin tuck position. So we'll follow the glabellomeatal line as shown here, and this is to ensure that the base of skull is perpendicular to our gantry. So we also need to position the patient as straight as possible, as the perfusion software will compare one side of the brain to the other, and therefore it relies heavily on our positioning of the patient. So this topogram here is what we're looking for. This is a perfectly positioned patient. So their head is nice and tucked in so that the base of skull is perpendicular to the gantry, ensuring that we can scan the maximum amount of brain tissue. And the head is straight, meaning that each slice of the brain should be comparable to the contralateral hemisphere, giving us accurate results during post-processing of our perfusion data. Okay, so why is it so important that we spend this time ensuring our patient is positioned correctly? So there are a number of factors. So firstly, reduced movement. So since the perfusion relies on comparing the same unit of brain over a period of time, any movement in the scan could result in inaccurate data. So this is why all immobilization aids should be used, including wedges, head straps, arm and body straps. But we also want to make sure our patient is comfortable. So by making the patient as comfortable as possible, you're more likely that they are going to comply and they're less likely to move. So due to the nature of a stroke, they generally have a reduced ability to follow instructions, and therefore telling them to hold still is not always going to be enough. So by ensuring you take these steps to ensure that they are nice and comfortable as well as safe, you're more likely to get high quality imaging. So the head being tucked in and straight is also important to ensure that we get the most important tissue on our scan, as well as accurate data. And finally, we want to reduce the risk of injury to our patients. We don't want our scan to harm them. So like I said earlier, keeping those arms strapped up not only keeps them still, but also will keep them safe. So as our scanner shuttles in and out of the scanner, we don't want their arms to fall down and get caught in anything. All right, time for a little quiz. So what are the most important aspects to consider when positioning the patient? All right, so there's no one answer, so all three are correct. So as we went through, we want to keep our patient still, we want to ensure that we get the head positioned correctly for accurate data, and we want to keep our patient comfortable. Okay, so next question. How do we want the patient's head positioned? Do we want it wherever is the most comfortable for them? Do we want it straight with the glabellomeatal line perpendicular to our gantry? Or do we want them straight with the infraorbital meatal line perpendicular to our gantry? Okay, so the answer is B. So on the patient's head straight. Again, that's to ensure that we get accurate data when we're comparing hemispheres. And we want the head with the chin tucked, with the glabellomeatal line perpendicular to the gantry. So this is to ensure that our base of skull is perpendicular and we can include as much brain as possible on our scan. Okay, so just quickly to wrap up our key points. I've harped on about these a fair bit during the video, but just to reiterate, so we want our chin tucked so that our base of skull or our glabellomeatal line is perpendicular with our gantry. We want the patient's head to be as straight as possible, and we want our patient to be immobilized whilst keeping them as comfortable and as safe as possible throughout our scan. Alright, thank you all for sitting through part 2. I'll see you all in part 3 where we look more at the actual scanning of our patient, the different scans that we perform and how to set them up, and some of the technical factors involved in scanning.